Mrs. Thatcher?
Marvellous. Best man in England.
Oh, I think she's just wonderful. The only man in Parliament.
She's absolutely great.
Why?
Well, she just is. She's the best man in the country.
Quite a guy, that Maggie Thatcher. And of course, this week she completes a decade in power. Thanks for joining me at 9 o'clock for the last time. From next week, Four Corners goes to air half an hour earlier at 8:30. Margaret Thatcher has come a long way in 10 years. Ask the French. Francois Mitterrand's recent celebrated observation that she has the eyes of Caligula and the mouth of Marilyn Monroe contrasts markedly with that of his predecessor. The haughty President Giscard had earlier dismissed Britain's new Prime Minister contemptuously as a grocer's daughter. Today, the grocer's daughter occupies as imposing a place in British political history as Mikhail Gorbachev does for the Soviet Union. Like the Kremlin leader, she towers over her government as an inspiration to like-minded politicians, our own John Howard among them. Her radical restructuring of the British economy has been every bit as dramatic as Gorbachev's perestroika. And the Thatcher Revolution has caused just as much heartburn. Despite a succession of bad opinion polls, there's no real sign that the Thatcher phenomenon is about to end. So, to mark her first decade in power, Four Corners reporter Paul Barry, an expatriate Englishman, returned to his homeland to prepare this political balance sheet.
Whether you love her or hate her, you cannot deny that Margaret Thatcher is remarkable. 3 election victories in a row have given her a decade in power and made her Britain's longest-serving Prime Minister this century. There is every chance that a 4th and 5th triumph will carry her forward into the next.
No one must slack.
We can have a party tonight.
You can have a party tonight. You will have a marvellous party tonight. And you can clear up tomorrow. But on Monday, you know, we've got a big job to do in some of those inner cities. A really big job. Our policies were geared education and housing to help the people in the inner cities to get more choice. And politically, we must get right back in there because we want them to next time.
No other leader in British history has had a philosophy named after her as she has done. Nor has any other leader fought with such zeal to change the country she leads.
I do not believe that Britain is for socialism or that socialism is for Britain. They would take us down the East European road. That is not for Britain. They want power over people, not power to people to live their own lives. I do not believe very much in the Liberal Party or the Alliance. They try to be all things to all people. I believe they're wishy-washy. You don't get clear policy direction by being wishy-washy or trying to be popular or saying different things in different constituencies. You say, this is right for Britain. This is the way we go. I made myself clear.
Mrs. Thatcher has been making herself clear ever since she came to power. And in the process, she's provoked the worst political violence in Britain's recent history. The year-long miners' strike in 1985 was without doubt the most important battle of Thatcher's decade. It ended with total victory for the government and the forces of order, as the unions were chased from the field in disarray. An ugly and bitter fight, it nevertheless won Mrs. Thatcher support, even from trade unionists. But more important, it allowed her government to close down coal mines that were losing money, to turn a disastrous nationalised industry into one that now makes a profit. And most of all, defeat of the miners marked the end of union power. Once the miners had lost, no others even dared to fight. Britain after this would never be the same again.
How much do you think Britain has changed in the 10 years that the Thatcher government has held power?
Britain has changed a good deal in the last 10 years. I think the economy is much more efficient. There's much lower taxation. People are much more ready to start their own businesses and to take a chance. And generally speaking, there's been a vast improvement in the attitude of people towards work and towards getting on in life.
Do you like what Mrs. Thatcher has done to Britain?
No, I loathe it. I think she's divided a country which was developing a degree of unity. She's produced a rather sour society, which is reflected in the yobbos who go beating up people all over Europe after football matches. And she's removed a sense of caring from the country, which I think is very damaging to any society.
In the 10 years since Margaret Thatcher took office, there is no doubt the nation has got richer. In Mrs. Thatcher's Britain, if you're working, you've never had it so good. You'll be earning more money and paying less tax than a decade ago. And while there are still 2 million unemployed, cast from the mainstream, there's no disputing that the vast majority have done well out of Thatcherism. The top rate of tax is down from 83 pence in the pound to 40. The standard rate has been cut to just 25. In Thatcher's Britain, you can get rich.
If you sold those and sold stock.
There are now more share owners than union members. This nation of shop stewards has become a country of capitalists. 1 million council houses have been sold to their tenants. Nationalised industries have been sold to their customers. Inflation has been tamed, for a time at least.
December 184's in gas, 2 lots.
50 bid.
51. Oh, you got your last 100, yeah? Right, okay, cheers, Roy. Yeah, fine.
And yet, for all this rosy picture, not much exaggerated, Mrs. Thatcher has received little thanks. She remains one of the most unloved of Britain's leaders. And surveys show most voters don't even share her political values.
We are, I believe, the only party in this election which has clear, decisive and strong policies.
While Mrs. Thatcher offers tax cuts and lower public spending, a large and growing majority of her subjects say they would like the opposite. It is almost a mystery how she stays in power. But perhaps it's the nanny complex. Nanny, after all, always knows best.
He's going to blow these candles out again. Now, is that television camera there? Ready? All right. Now, Mr. Hunt, come on. Well, all first go.
In this, as everything else in the shadow cabinet, it was Mrs. Thatcher who ran the show, getting them in the right positions for the photographs.
1.5 million, it'll go up to 3 million. That is to...
1.25.
Well, you better put it up to 1.5 so it can go up to 3, haven't you? Teach people to give me wrong briefing, won't it? Right.
No, there's a lady on her beat, yes. I then will take these two, and that's the lot. Now, we've got this little inner circle. You, and you. Right.
To understand why people keep on voting for Mrs. Thatcher, and perhaps also to judge her performance fairly, you need to know what sort of a state Britain was in before she came to power. Well, the economy was in a dreadful mess. We were in hock to the International Monetary Fund. Inflation had been well over 20%, and some years before, the previous Conservative government had been brought down by the miners in pursuit of a 40% pay claim. And at the same time, the miners had brought the whole nation to a standstill. I was an economic commentator when Mrs. Thatcher came to power, and as I recall, the government at that time, indeed all of us, lived in fear of the unions, and there was a general feeling of despair about Britain's future. Indeed, in the months before the 1979 election, Britain had once again ground to a halt, stopped by a wave of public sector strikes designed to bust the Labour government's pay policy apart. Mrs. Thatcher was swept into Downing Street on a tide of uncollected garbage. In the cemeteries, the gravediggers even refused to bury the dead.
Mr. Callahan? Hello, sir. How are you this morning, sir?
In this winter of discontent, as it came to be known, Prime Minister Callahan had swanned off for a holiday in the West Indies. It seemed that even he had given up, that Britain had essentially become ungovernable.
I always look forward to a good fight. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Not physically, of course.
And to the breach she came, the savage Messiah.
I would just like to remember some words of St. Francis of Assisi, which I think are really just particularly apt at the moment. Where there is discord, may we bring harmony. Where there is error, may we bring truth. Where there is doubt, may we bring faith. And where there is despair, may we bring hope. And to all the British people, howsoever they voted, may I say this, now that the election is over, may we get together and strive to serve and strengthen the country of which we're so proud to be a part.
Broadly speaking, I think Mrs. Thatcher was the right person in the right place at the right time. She's tough, she's a conviction politician. She has been absolutely ruthless at pushing through her own policies. Britain was getting into a very bad state in the 70s. The whole decade of the 70s was a very bad decade for Britain. And I think that she has stopped the rot and she started us going in the right direction. But of course it has been accomplished with a lot of broken china around the place, and not everyone is happy, and I'm afraid that's inevitable.
5 years ago, the critics, and that includes members of the church, would have howled down such an apology for Mrs. Thatcher, though perhaps this bishop would never quite howl. But in 1989, there's a measure of agreement that even if she is evil, she was and is a necessary one.
She came to power at a time of runaway inflation, at a time when a lot of people were sitting back and thinking that life was going to be full of handouts all the time, both in not only working people. I mean, the management needed a very big shakeout when she came here. And so when she came to power, she altered the political climate of the country, and really she has done it herself.
What about on the bad side? Anything on the bad side?
Oh, good heavens, yes. I mean, all over the scene you can point to ways in which the rich have got richer and the poor have got poorer. Well, that's happened before in British history, but it's happened in a way with vast amount of unemployment. Again, we had to have a shake-up, but there's been an impression of a lack of care.
Before the riots of 1981 in Toxteth and Brixton, scenes like this on British streets were quite simply unimaginable. It is a measure of Thatcher's Britain that one now regards them as a predictable part of life. To be fair, they have not recurred on a scale quite like this. One would hardly be surprised if they did. The effect of Thatcher's policies on the black and indeed the white youth of Britain's cities has been to make them often jobless, frequently hopeless, and occasionally angry. In Liverpool 8, where the Toxteth riots took place, youth unemployment in the mid-1980s has been near 50%. Yet when this forgotten class took to the streets, Mrs. Thatcher didn't flinch from her determination to press on with her policies.
Steady now, don't run, for fuck's sake, don't run!
As the number out of work roared towards 3 million and Liverpool burned, even her own party pressed her to show compassion and to give way. But she had no doubts. There was no alternative.
We all want the chance to work. No wonder there's this huge temptation to go for the simple answer, the convenient cure-all. To get the government to spend and borrow and print large sums of money to expand the economy. It sounds so caring and compassionate. I only wish it were as easy as that. Do you really think we would have rejected the easy way if it had any chance of working? Of course not. We'd have jumped at it.
The politician at the heart of this latest crisis, Mr. Pryor, visited survivors...
Jim Pryor was employment minister in Mrs. Thatcher's first government. He, more than any, argued they should change tack to reduce unemployment. Mrs. Thatcher would not listen. Indeed, he says, she rarely does.
What's she like personally?
Well, I found her a very difficult lady. I liked her as an individual and always got on very well with her as an individual, but when I came to do business with her and as a minister, I found her pretty difficult to deal with. Now, that may be because I didn't find it easy to work with a woman. On the other hand, she is a difficult person to work with. She's very questioning. She has her own very strong view. She doesn't really want to listen to anyone else a bit. And if you stand up to her, it's quite a difficult situation. But having said that, I've known her pretty well for 30 years, and we still see something of each other.
Does she shout?
Oh, yes, she shouts, and I would shout back.
Have you been able to combine your political life with looking after a family, running a home?
Well, I mainly do the catering here. I like cooking, and I do the shopping, and always a big batch of cooking at the weekend.
When Mrs. Thatcher entered Parliament 30 years ago, she certainly had no thoughts of becoming Prime Minister. Even in the 1970s, she said, there wouldn't be a woman leader in her lifetime. But her own determination and extraordinary personality proved her wrong.
Speaking in the House of Commons is quite different. It's a unique experience.
Margaret Hilda Roberts was born to the comfortable ranks of Middle England. Brought up in a grocer's shop in the Lincolnshire town of Grantham, if she had a hard life, it was because her father believed it proper. Alderman Roberts was a devout Methodist, a lay preacher and mayor of Grantham, and his severe views on life form the basis of Thatcherism. Work hard, she was taught. Save money. Stand up for what you think is right. And don't rely on the state for what you could do yourself.
She had a very difficult life, very cheerless life. There wasn't a lot of fun in the Roberts household when she was a child. There were no toys or great childish outings, or I don't think there was much laughter in the house even. Her parents were serious folk, and they were serious children, and Margaret was a very serious girl who walked to school every day, who didn't have many friends because she was so serious and single-minded.
And what did her contemporaries think of her, the other children at school?
I think they thought she was not much fun at all. They would actually, if they saw her walking along the route to school, they would choose another route and avoid walking with her because she was so hard to be with. Simply
For all that Margaret Thatcher may still lack friends, she has over the years won many admirers, including Penny Junor, who in the course of writing her biography became enthralled by her subject. It is a strange book in a way, because in its pages, Mrs. Thatcher makes her mark almost against the wishes of the author. One feels reading it that Penny Junor is a reluctant convert.
I ended up admiring her fantastically. What I found was a 100% honest woman. Everything that she did, I mean, whether she's done the right thing or not, she's done it for the right reasons, I believe.
Were you persuaded by her actual philosophy at all?
Yes, she persuaded me with her philosophy. I voted for her. Having written the book, I actually went out and voted for her. I have been a staunch admirer of her ever since, I suppose I have to say.
And you weren't when you started?
And I wasn't when I started, no. No, she has convinced me.
And do you now like her?
No, I still don't think I like her enormously.
How do you think she'll go down in history?
Depends how it all ends. I mean, I think if she'd retired just after a victory in 1987, people would have thought better of her than they would think if she went now. And if the situation deteriorates in the next few years, she may not go down with a very good record. There's no question. I mean, she has a dramatic and impressive personality. She has guts, she has stamina, she has immense courage, but I don't personally think that she has wisdom. She has no sense of history.
She's not a lady I would wish to go on holiday with, but she's obviously she's a very hard-working, strong person of personal integrity, I think. She's a person of Christian convictions. I don't doubt that at all. She's...
Do you like her?
Well, I've never really thought of her as someone I liked. No, I haven't thought of her in those terms, in such personal terms, I think. I mean, the only time she ever said anything to me, she said, "Bishop, you're always so controversial." Well, I thought that was a strange thing for her to say. I mean, I think she is a very controversial person. So what do I think of her? I think of her as a strong person